Hello, this is Ivana.
This is Yaw.
And you're listening to the podcast Life in Black and White.
And all the shades in between.
We share all things life, relationships, marriage, parenting, race, and much more. If you enjoy listening to us, then please follow or subscribe to this podcast. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook under Life in Black and White. Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the next episode of Life in Black and White. I'm just looking at my lovely husband, and he seems a bit tired, drained. Are you?
Never. My kids have just given me bundles of energy, so that's absolutely fine.
I spoke about this with his mom this morning at the toddlers group, how some women are like, oh my God, I don't know who I was before having kids. Now I found my purpose. And she said, I'm complete opposite. I was like, I didn't want to say anything. But yeah, it's not easy. And I think people should talk about this more, about the hardship of being a parent rather than, it's all bed of roses. It's not. And she just said to me, she was so funny, and she said to me, kids are assholes. I was like, yes, thank you. They are. It doesn't mean we don't love them. It just means it's what it is, you know. Like, I love you, but it doesn't mean I'm going to say you're a complete angel, perfect angel.
So, Lewis.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We're bridging already. Yeah. Okay. So today, my friend, we have a very, very special guest here, Lewis Harrower. I hope I pronounced that properly. Apologies.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah.
Good. I met Lewis at this networking event. I meet all the amazing people at networking events. Now, last time we had Marianne, who I met networking. But anyway, I'm not going to say what he does because I'll let Lewis to say that to you. But I was amazed just listening to what he does. It's so unique and special. Never heard of anything like that before. So I knew right away we had to have him on. And I'm so glad that he accepted this invitation and I can't have to have this chat with you. So hi, Lewis. Sorry, I'm so bad with pronouncing this name.
No, Lewis is fine. It's okay. I've heard it many, many different ways. So
okay, good.
As long as it's not like Lewis. That's so I'm Lewis. I'm an audio producer. So I studied audio production at university. I got like a master's degree in it. Currently, I'm running a company called Time Capsule Productions. And the main thing I do with that company is I make audio time capsules, which are sort of personalised audio documentaries that people can buy. That basically means I can go around to someone's house, record their life story, like a little bit about their family history, where they grew up, like where they went to school, their jobs, like how they met their partners, like fell in love, had kids, like all of like everything, like some fun stories, things like that. And then I'll take all that away and edit it into a documentary with some music, some sounds that sort of reflect their personality and like our music that they like from their life. It could be like their song from a wedding or songs they like growing up and things like that as well. And then they have this audio time capsule that they can keep and share with their friends and families, like pass down generations that other people like in like years to come can listen to and be like, oh my gosh, like here's something my great grand recorded. I'm hearing all about her life and like in her own words and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's the main thing I do with Time Capsule Productions. But I've also done documentaries and stuff like that for BBC Radio 4 and things. So yeah.
Oh wow, you're so modest about it. I just work for BBC, like casual thing. I love that.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just be proud of what you do. Anyway, so let's back up a little bit and just tell us how it all started, because this is very unusual, amazing, But how did you get this idea to start doing something like this?
Well, this sort of came from I'd heard a few people sort of say after somebody they loved had like passed away. I'd heard a few people saying like, "Oh, you know what? I wish I'd asked like these questions," or like saying like, "Oh, you know what? I actually didn't really know much about like where they came from or their childhood or like things about that." And I never thought to ask and things like that. And obviously then it's too late at that point. And I was thinking, you know what, that is a shame. And like I get that some people don't think of asking. Like I hadn't really thought about asking a lot of these kind of questions either with my own parents or my grandparents and stuff like that. So I thought, why isn't there something where people can record like their whole stories and just like their friends and their family can have them to listen to? And that's such a meaningful thing, like hearing like being able to hear somebody's voice like even after they've passed. Like I'd seen something as well. I think it was on Instagram that somebody had shared with me that somebody had found a tape of their, I think it was like their mum's voice, like 20 that like was recorded like 25 years before, and then they like passed away and something like that. So it was like the first time that they'd heard like their mum's voice in like 8 years. At that point, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what, that is like, that would be so amazing to still be able to hear the voices, because you know you've always got pictures, you like you might have videos as well, which is great because then that's good moments and stuff like that, especially these days. But having the audio and like the life story, then like the fun stories and things like that you can remember, I think it's just a great idea. So I thought I would try and do something about that.
Wow. Do you know what? Oh, I would have loved to have that with my grandma, who passed when almost 17 years ago. And I'm still not over it. And when I saw one old videos we recently found, when it just a split second of her on the screen, and it was like, I can't even describe. It was amazing. Yeah. So imagine, I mean, just to imagine I would have something like that. Oh my God. It would be, I think it helps you cope as well, no, with the loss.
That's the thing. Like, as far as I go and like record these things with the people, but then like I don't, like they might leave a review or something like that. But like as far as I know, the people I've recorded with haven't like passed away yet. So like they haven't had that like bit in the future where they've listened to it and like, actually this has been amazing, it's really helped, or anything like that. I know I recorded one with somebody who was in the early stages of dementia. So like being able to record what they remembered at the time and stuff like that is obviously something that might get more and more important as the years go on as well.
While we're on this subject, you're also a dementia friend, right?
Yes, I am.
Tell us about that, because that's really fascinating.
Yeah, so it's sort of a training you can do. I think you can do it in person or online, and it's just about being more aware of people living with dementia's needs. I sort of became aware of that because for my final project in university, I did a documentary and drama and soundscape about living with dementia. So I found out loads. I didn't want to, like, I'd heard loads and like, there's obviously loads of stories about people, about how people looking into it and what dementia is and things like that. But I decided to look at ways of, living with it. So like the support that there is out there for people living with dementia, because I've always been scared of that myself. Like I've got an awful memory, and I like was worried like, oh, I don't want it to get worse and things like that. So what support is out there? And then obviously with being a dementia friend, like it helps being aware of people living with dementia's needs, especially if I'm going to be recording with them maybe as well.
No, I think that's amazing. And you know what? I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you seem very young. I don't know how old you are, but you seem very young. And for someone this young to, see life from this perspective, it's amazing. And it's very unusual. No, usually young people don't really care. And you get to realize all these things later on in life. So that makes it, I think, even more special, no? Like, wow, it's amazing.
I'll take that as a compliment. I'm 31.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. And I wanted to ask something I forgot. Do you have any questions?
No, I was just, storytelling as itself is, historically, it's been through the ages, right? We pass our stories, so we try to remember the things of the past of history and all this. And like you were saying there, just capturing that is just such an amazing idea to kind of have, not just to have, but to also take action on that and implement that. And do you remember the first occasion that you tried to kind of put this together, or go to a customer and actually go through? Was it quite daunting? There must have been some nerves and stuff around this, because I don't mean to put pressure on, but if you're doing this and it's something that's so powerful, you don't want to get it wrong, are you?
Yeah, it's a responsibility, Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is quite scary, and I always do get nervous when I'm going to meet like new people and stuff like that. But like in the early stages, like you were saying, the first ones I did of these, I did with my family. I wanted to test out what I was doing, and like I've done interviews and like with celebrities and things like that through the years. We're doing student radio and things like that. But the first one I actually recorded was with my own dad, and I was nervous even to do that. Like I was like, it's my dad. Like I talk to him like every week or whatever. I see him, and like I've been talking to him my whole life. But even just sitting down for like an hour and a half and talking to him about his life story and things like that, I found out things that I didn't know about my dad. And like the same with my mum and my grandparents. Like everybody I've recorded with, I've sat down and talked about their life stories. I've been nervous to start with, but I've always found out things that I didn't know about them.
I would like to visualize how the process looks like. So you come to your client and you tell them what, like tell me your story and I'm going to record it, or you have specific questions you ask them to get them to talk?
Yeah, so what I usually do is when somebody approaches me like, oh, I'd love to record a capsule with like my mum or something like that, I will go to them like, great, like before we arrange, like while we arrange a date and time to do this, can you go to them and ask them to like write down bullet points of like their life story, like their family history, like what they want to talk about, like where they were born, like how many, like what schools they went to, like what fun, interesting stories have you got about your life, like what jobs do you have, what pets do you have, where did you go on holiday, like all those kind of things. Like just put that into bullet points, have that prepared beforehand before I come along. Because I found that if you go in without anything, you're putting people on the spot, and that can be really hard to think of things just on the spot. Even if it is your own life, you come away afterwards and you're like, oh, you know what? I should have said that, or I should have said that. But if you've prepared that, then you've got the sort of basic structure of the story that you want to tell. Then when they're going through it in person, that's sort of what I get them to do. I'll start getting them to go through and tell their story as they've sort of bullet pointedly prepared it down. And while they're doing that, they'll remember bits and pieces that they hadn't written down, so they'll expand on it. And I'm there. I'll also ask questions as I'm going along. So I've got a list of things like that I would roughly ask about as well on the website. Like I've said, like school and like partners and kids and like jobs and things like that. Like important parts of your life that you might not think about to talk about. So yeah, I'll just try and ask questions as well and expand on those.
And I don't know if you're allowed to mention, but do you remember one of the most powerful stories you heard? That's something that just stayed with you.
I always think it's funny that my mum wanted to drive trucks. Like that's what she wanted to do as a job for a while. But like she's not, and it's like she's works in care right now. So, and she's like not the most confident driver. So the fact that she wanted to drive trucks was like
Wow.
completely baffling to me. I was like, where did that even come from?
Yeah. And that's amazing because you ask these people questions you normally wouldn't ask, or no one would. So that's what makes it special. And I think we had that once, not as a family activity, that I just found something on the internet. What questions you should ask your kids, like fun questions to ask. And we learned so many things about them, like new things. It's just nice to get out of the routine. You just always live on autopilot and just try shift a few things, ask different questions. It just can make such a big difference.
To be honest with you, I only do this podcast because I have a record there that at some point in our relationship I was correct, and if I look back through enough of them, I do find it. So yeah.
Do you know what? I think we should do this all the time. This capsule. We should do it because
I thought it was. Go on. Sorry, Lewis.
No. Feel free.
I was going to say that I thought this was a preemptive to if there was if there's anything that I need to do and stuff is do this time capsule. So you've already got it's sold. You've got to work on a good discount and stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
No, because the longer we are together, the more we annoy each other. So it would be nice on hard days
to remember the good times.
Remember, yeah.
I thought that's what this podcast was about.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, me and you in particular.
That's what I was going to say, actually. Like, not to talk myself out of business or anything like that, but like, in a way, you are doing a time capsule right now. Like, these podcast episodes, every single one is basically a time capsule of like where you are in life at that moment, especially like you're involving your kids as well a little bit. I listened to the one with your twins recently, and I thought that was great because you don't often hear that kind of things, or you don't really ask those questions. Well, typical people don't really ask those kind of questions, or hear from your kids in that way. And I think that was really special. So, like you're doing it yourselves, and you'll always have these to listen back on. And like when your twins are 18, as they were saying, leaving messages for themselves, I think that'll be something that you can look back and be like, wow, that was so long ago and you said these. And
that's so true.
You've also got to remember that because my wife does the editing all the time, she could always go back and go over some episodes and so I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
But we had two with our kids. So if you haven't listened to the first one, I think it's earlier. It was earlier. It was so much better because they're answering big world's questions like about wars and all that stuff. So
that's really interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Okay, let's
go back.
Sorry. I have a tendency to turn it on people. I'm used to interviewing people, not being interviewed. So.
You do a good job. You
have a very good voice.
Thank you.
No, I love that. Absolutely love that. And you know what? Everyone has a story, but so many people are convinced they don't have a story. Have you came across this approach?
When I was doing sort of market research for this, I had a number of people sort of saying like, "Oh, I wouldn't have anything to tell you about anyway, so like there would be no point." I was like, "Yeah, but like you've lived a whole life so far, no matter what age you are." Like you've done probably so much with it. And even if you've never traveled anywhere, if you've like had the same job for 20 years or you don't have like partners or something like that, there's still things that you've been doing with your life and it's still interesting. Like you always hear from famous people, like in documentaries and things like that, or people that are slightly famous for doing certain things, and then but you don't hear from the common people very much, like just everyday people, and they've got loads of interesting stories that you might not have heard of or even thought about before.
And I think even celebrities have stories that are much more interesting than the ones they share. No,
That's true. Sometimes, yeah.
But everyone has a story. You live, you have a story. Even if you had spent your whole life lying on the sofa, that's your story. You don't have to travel the world or overcome a disease.
There's so many powerful, inspiring stories out there.
But people don't realize they have them.
Yeah.
I think often, no? You ask them, they say, I don't have a story, but you get to talk properly, and then things that come out like,
It's
oh
amazing.
my God, yeah.
It's absolutely amazing.
And it's nothing. It's like I just work for BBC, it's nothing. So it's for them, their story is nothing. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for the work you do. It's wow.
I can't see it not winning, because the more that people hear about this, the more it's such a great model. And, once people really start to understand the power of, not just the questions that you just wouldn't ask, but in those instances, like you said before, someone maybe not being around anymore, and, you reflect back on something, it could be, I'm trying to think of the right word. I keep saying powerful, but it is.
Yeah.
It truly is. And it's like life change.
Yes.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just wonder, who are your clients? Like, what do you see most often? Is it people they want present for their loved ones, or is it for their parents, their kids, or what do you see the most often?
I've seen family, like for parents and like even aunties and uncles and things like that. I've seen. So I think people that are it seem like people that are quite close to their families already. That I've seen.
So it's mostly families, yeah?
Yeah, and I think it's been kind of a gift for them themselves rather than the people that they're recording, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any random request like, I want to do this for...
This was in my head for a little while and things. Has there been anything...
crazy?
Like really out there as an audio that you kind of maybe thought, okay, I'll do it because of the money, but actually I'm going to sit through this and I'm going to be blushing while I'm actually listening and recording this and thinking I'm going to have to edit this.
You mean something naughty?
Yeah, it could be.
It can be anything. Yeah,
could be.
I've not been asked to record anything like naughty or embarrassing or anything like that so far.
Right. We could start something. This could be a little niche market and stuff for you.
I mean, if anybody has any ideas, fire them my way. Let me know.
The portfolio, though, but that the kids can't listen to it.
Exactly. Restricted.
So, Lewis, now tell our listeners how they can find you.
You can go to timecapsuleproductions.co.uk.
The links to the description, of course.
Yeah, of course. And it's Time Capsule Productions on Facebook and Instagram. I think it's like at Time Caps Prod because of length restrictions on names and things like that. And TikTok as well. I'm trying to do a bit of TikTok. So not very good at being in front of the camera or anything like that. So I'm trying.
If there was one bit of advice that you feel that people should have, especially when they've got a passion for something, what would that advice be? Because there's a lot of dreamers and stuff in this world, have amazing ideas and things, but it stays in their head and things. And what's that kind of bit that you think that would be really useful or really kind of powerful for them to kind of make that dream into a reality?
Well, this might be a little bit of a cliche, but it's the kind of like, don't give up on it. Like, I left uni and didn't go into like an audio production job straight away. I did like media analysis researching. And after doing that for a few years, I was like itching at the bit to get back into audio because that's what I love. So I started this up because it was a way to get back into doing what I was. And it was sort of like that persistence, like that's what I want to do. So I'm going to start it. I'm going to make it myself kind of thing. And since doing that, I have had other audio opportunities pop up. I think it's important to sort of keep pursuing it in a way. Like if it's what you want to do, don't just put it to the background. I know like everybody has to have a job because you've got bills to pay and things like that. And well, recently I had sort of quit my main job to do this, and it's not making loads of money at the moment, so it's scary and it's nerve-wracking at times. And it can be hard. Like I'm I'm probably the first one to say I'm not a business person at all, but like having to like run my own business because I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's hard, and I am pushing on with it because that is what I want to be doing. So I think it's just sort of committing and trying what you can do to make it work. I think what you're doing is great. And like obviously you've had this sort of passion to start this podcast, and like I think you sort of talked about your reasons for starting it in like the first couple of episodes, which I think is great. But also like you had that idea, and I know it might have been Ivana's more than yours.
I think everybody knows that.
But you're still doing it, and it's something that I'm hoping you're both enjoying. And I think it's great to hear all these different conversations that you're having, and like it's quite a personal thing to you both, I think. And like you're both really quite open and honest about like a lot of things, and I find that quite refreshing sometimes because it's not something that you normally hear about. A nice insight into like your sort of married life and like with your kids and everything, and your unique experiences. So I think it's wonderful that you went out and done this, and it's a really, really great thing.
Thank you very much. Sure.
So we both share stories just in different ways, different perspective. And actually, yes, it was my idea to start this podcast. It took me a year to get him on board.
I'm here, aren't I?
But
it's going to be on so many episodes. I
was getting to the compliment.
Okay. I'll let you compliment.
It took me about a year, but then you admitted that you enjoy it. As long as you don't have to do anything else than just show up and talk. You do. And you're so good at it. You have such a nice voice, and you're funny sometimes.
Ugh, I'm funny all the time, but let's get past that.
And you're both great at interviewing people as well.
Hey, coming from yourself, that means thank you.
Yes. Anyway, thank you so much, Lewis. This was amazing. Like really, it's been a real honor, and I mean it. I do mean it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we'll share all the links in the description, of course.
I just realistically, the way that I'm not sure if you even realise
what you do.
Yeah, what you're doing, how it will impact people on such a positive note. And the fact that you're doing it, the fact that, you had this idea, you made it a reality, not just the people who will just, absolutely get the capsule and have that as a memento that they can always cherish and things. But going through those steps, and those steps are not easy at the best of times and things, but you're doing it with a passion and stuff as well. And that's inspiring. Mm-hmm. So for that, thank you very much. Yes. I really appreciate you taking the time out to...
Yeah, that you do it for the right reasons. Yeah. That's so important, yeah.
Thank you very much. You're getting me all emotional here. Because it is, like, it's difficult sometimes, like, sitting, like, trying to figure out how to run your business and, like, do that. So, like, You have hard days and good days. So like hearing like how much it could mean to people, like that's just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And see you in 2 weeks. Bye.